Hello, beautiful boss babes. Are you ready to chase life with Kelly? Well, I'm your host, Kelly Chase, and I'm so excited you're here. We are going to talk about all things love, dating, relationships, money mindset. We're going to dive deep into self-love, worthiness. I am going to bring on some incredibly empowering guests. We're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, and perhaps we're even going to shed some tears together. I am here to empower you, inspire you, and motivate you to create the life you crave. I am so excited for today's episode. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I am so excited to have a conversation with one of my really good friends. It's so funny because I don't know, like having a podcast, sometimes it's like, oh, you got to have like, I don't know, like.
If you try and say I'm not a celebrity, Kelly Chase.
That's not what I was about to say, Chamberlain. But just like, I don't know, like a therapist, an expert, like they have titles. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Right? And so anyways, but I love having my friends on here because it's just, one, it like chills me out because it feels even more like a conversation because it is. But it just feels like really good. And it's also a great time for me and my friends to catch up. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. Let me introduce you to the star of the show, Miss Chamberlain Iocovozzi. Iocovozzi. I've known her for 15 years.
How many years have we been friends? We need to have like a lesson right now on how to say it. Honestly, I'm really just trying to go by Chamberlain now. Like, Beyonce, Madonna, Prince, Chamberlain.
Chamberlain.
We're just going to be just Chamberlain. But it's Iocovozzi, actually, is how you say it.
Close. Iocovozzi.
I mean, I feel like you were giving it like an Italian accent, sort of.
I was.
I can't.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to have Chamberlain on was because she has just such a vibrant personality, and I love her to death. And just you will start following her after this episode. If you aren't already, but you'll start following her on TikTok and Instagram. And she, like I said, she just exudes this like vibrant energy, and I feel like everybody needs a bit of that in their lives. But she has quite an incredible story. She has been divorced, and I wanted her to be on the show to talk about that because, as her and I were discussing a little bit before we started recording, is the fact that is just so normal these days. And what I was saying was, like, when I was younger, like in my teens, and I would see my friends' parents have separations and go through a divorce. I don't know, maybe I was like thinking they were like older, like in their 40s or 50s or something. And like, but it really is such a normal thing for, between, anything less than, any age less than 40, it is super normal. And we're running into that more and more as we are getting older, and we are single and we're dating. We're experiencing those who have been divorced or have been engaged before or whatever the case may be. So I wanted her to share her story, normalize it, and just really, I feel like she would be able to connect with a lot of you who have maybe experienced that, or maybe you have thoughts of dating people who have been married and like what your resistance is to that. So Chamberlain.
I'm like, yes, date us.
Yeah, date us.
We're great.
Yeah, I'm like, I always think about this here. I'm like, okay, so technically I was engaged, but like, was I? Because it was on a show.
I will never forget the day I was invited to that wedding. I was at work. I got a text from like a random number. Like, hi, this is so-and-so producer from blah, blah. And I was like, what? How did you get my number? And it was like an invitation to Kelly Chase's wedding. Meanwhile, I'm like, Kelly Chase doesn't have a boyfriend. What's going on? I was like, this is like, Ashton, is this you? I was like, okay, what? But yeah, that memory does stick out in my mind. It's a good story to tell people. I'm like, I was invited to that. I totally didn't go.
I know.
Well, I had a good excuse. I live like 4 hours away, and I think it was on like a Wednesday. So.
It was a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like a weekday, and I probably had a meeting. I don't know.
Yeah. You were like, well, I remember receiving your text, and you were like, "Is this real? What is happening?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, it is, but also it's not. So like, you don't have to come."
Well, I remember saying, if you're really getting married, obviously I want to be there for your wedding. But what is going like, or I think I said, but should I take PTO for this?
Right. And
I feel like you were like, no. That's when I was like, got it. Wink, wink. Don't take your PTO. Save it for Christmas, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, dear Lord. Where do I even start?
Yeah.
Dating. So I'm 36. I got married and divorced in 2017. So I live in North Carolina right now. So when you are divorced in North Carolina, you have to actually be separated for a year. So I didn't technically get divorced until 2018. Even though everything kind of went down within like 6 months. I want to preface that with we were together we met 2010.
Right.
And then our wedding was in 2017. So we were together for a long time. I think when I tell people, oh, I was married for 6 months, they think like, oh, you probably got married really quickly, or you only dated for like a year. Oh no, I made that full-on decision after 6 years to go through with it. So, which I don't know if that's better or worse. I'll say the person I met in 2010 was not the person I divorced in 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can put it that way.
Love that.
Yeah. So people change. People, I don't even know. People get worse. I think I grew up. When I met him, I had graduated college. I had lost about 60 pounds. And I remember thinking like he hung out with like the cool people. I went to Georgia Southern. So he hung out with like, which looking back, I'm like, it was like the bartenders. It was like, but I remember thinking like they were cool. Like they were all hot. And I was like, oh my gosh, like a guy from that group likes me. Like what is going on? So I think that I lost a bunch of weight after college, and I was very insecure. A guy that I thought was attractive and was cool gave me attention. And I think that is what stemmed 6 years of allowing myself to be treated and spoken to the way that I was. I mean, you were around, you saw a lot of, I don't even know what to call that. Angry, drunk, screaming. So, I mean, I think I put up with it. It didn't really start in the beginning. Definitely throughout the years, it got kind of worse. But in my head, it was like, well, no one else is ever going to like me. No one's going to think I'm attractive. No one's going to be like my personality. Although I feel like he really dimmed my light. So I don't think I was even like my full personality now. Like that. I think I lost a lot of that during that relationship. Like I have people that met me when I moved to Charlotte in 2017 that I'm good friends with now that are like, the girl you are now or woman that you are now is not who I met in 2017. Wow. Like I literally was not myself. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I lost a lot of myself in that relationship, but I was so scared to leave it because I had been in it for so long. You know, we did all of our holidays together. You start getting close with people's families, all of your friends, see you together. And I feel like, although you guys probably wish that you didn't see us together, I've had a lot of people that were like, no, we hated him. And I'm like, cool. Nobody freaking told me. The only person that actually did speak up and say they didn't like him was my mom. So, but I ignored her. So it's fine. But yeah, I think a lot of it too is when we are dating someone and we're really caught up in it, and people can say whatever they want. You can see red flags, you ignore them. I mean, you do that with dating, you do that with anything. Yeah. But I think that looking back, there were a lot of red flags that I just, dodged. And I think if anyone had come to me and said, like, don't do this, or are you sure you want to be with him or whatever, I would have taken his side. I mean, I stood up for him doing all kinds of bad things. So, I mean, I think that I still would have taken his side and I still would have probably gone through with it because I was just so blind to everything, like the way I was being treated. I was really blind to a lot of it. So yeah, do you want me to just like get into my divorce story?
Whatever. You got more details you can share. It's fine.
So yeah, his job basically took us to Indianapolis for, I think we only lived there for 10 months. So it was the typical, if you're moving there and you expect me to move with you, like, what are we doing? Are we getting engaged? What are we doing? And I never gave that ultimatum. I know that some people think that that's like normal to do. I never said, I'm not moving unless I have a ring or blah, blah, blah. I never did that. But I feel like the pressure from a lot of people around us were like, are you going to actually go there? Like, what do you, I think it was more the pressure from everyone around us that made that more of a thing. So when we went up to look at apartments or whatever, we like rented a townhome up there. We went up to tour it. And when we went up there to tour it is when he proposed. And we moved to Indy. We were there for 10 months. Again, looking back, there was some sketchy shit that went down when we were up there. And I ignored it several times. But looking back, I'm like, I wonder who that girl was. Or, ooh, I wonder what happened with that situation. Like there was probably 3 different times that I questioned him and it got turned around to, I'm crazy. I'm paranoid. It's me. You're being insecure. It's constantly being told in my head. So you start to believe it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, maybe you're right. I don't know, whatever. And not to mention, I'm in Indiana alone. All my friends are in Atlanta or my family's in Savannah or Tennessee. You know what I mean? So on top of all that, I don't have any friends. Like he's all I had there.
Yeah.
So I think that probably also played a big part of it. So after 10 months, I basically occupied that whole time with planning a wedding. I am not a Midwest girly. I hated the weather. I hated everything about it. I was like sad there. There was like no sun. It sucked. Yeah. But so he gets a job offer in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was like, hell yeah, I've never been to Charlotte, but let's go. I don't care. It's in the South. I don't care how good it is. Like, let's go. So he moves down here a few weeks before I did. I had some projects and stuff to finish up on. So he moved down here. I later found out several girls he was hitting on. One is a good friend of mine now that she had to be like, aren't you engaged? Like, what are you doing? So, but I didn't know her at the time. Now I'm friends with her. So, I mean, again, all these things like I had no idea what were going on. So I finally moved down here. I think it was like 2 weeks later was when we got married, which was in April. And then October, so we didn't do a honeymoon because we didn't really have all the PTO and all that. We had just moved and everything. But we had already planned to go visit friends who lived in Germany to go to Oktoberfest. And we were like, well, let's do Amsterdam for a couple of days and then go to Germany. So that wasn't really our honeymoon. It was more of like we had already had a trip planned because there was like other people on the trip with us. So so we were a few weeks out. So that was in October. So during that time, we were out a couple of times and I meet this girl who I just had a weird feeling about. If you have a weird feeling, go on that.
Yeah.
If your gut is telling you something, there's a reason. I will say that. Every time I've had a gut feeling about something, I'm usually right or sort of right. Something about it is right. Like your intuition. I feel like this female intuition or whatever you want to call it, like it is so real. So yeah, I remember the first time I saw her, we were sitting at a booth at one of the breweries here. She was at the bar and I saw her do like a triple take at us. And I was like, that was weird. And so I asked him, I'm like, do you know this girl? And at first he says no. And I'm like, she's just looked at you like 4 times. Like, you know, you have to know her. Like, who is this? So sure enough, they worked together, whatever. He like kind of played it off. Then a couple weeks later, we had 2 friends in town that, you know, they were in town from Atlanta. And he invites that coworker. He's like, oh, she's new to Charlotte. She's like just out of college. It's like her first real job, blah, blah, blah. So he's her boss's boss. So he invites her to meet up with us at actually that same brewery. And I'm like, okay, whatever. He kept saying, you know, you know so many people, and I just want her to have friends. Like, imagine if you live in a city. Like, he totally made me think like we're being nice people befriending this girl. I'm like, okay, whatever. So then I meet her then, and I remember what she wore that day, because I remember being like, are you going like out? Like, we're at a brewery. Like, the floor is dirt. Literally, it's dirt floor. Right. And I'm like, we're in like gravel and like eating out of a food truck. And what are you wearing? With like wedges. I was like, girl. But then I remember being like, oh, she's young, whatever.
Right.
So I had met this girl twice. So like I knew her name. I think he gave me her phone number. Like, I'm not even kidding. Because we were like going to be friends.
Yes.
And I remember a couple weeks, this was like over the summer, however long goes by, it had to be the end of the summer. I posted something for his birthday, and it was a video. And you know, on Instagram, you have to tap it to hear the sound.
Yeah.
So I get a like from this girl, and I'm like, that's weird. Like, she doesn't follow. I was public at the time. I'm private now. But I was like, oh, I clicked on her and I went to look at my Instagram. Again, intuition. I realized that she had liked it, but then when I looked at the likes, because there weren't that many, I had like just posted it. She had unliked it. Yeah. And I was like, that was an accident. You were just trying to hear the song. I was like, I'm not dumb. I do it all the time. I was like, that girl didn't mean to do that. So I remember he was in the laundry room, and I was like, this girl, won't say her name, just very clearly accidentally, like, what's going on here? Like, I feel weird about it. Again, I'm told I'm crazy, I'm paranoid, whatever. Right. So then I go to look at it, and she, within like a 5-minute span, had blocked me on Instagram. I was like, that's not suspicious at all. But I, in my head, was like, he wouldn't lie to me. He wouldn't, you know, I'm believing him. He's my husband. I'm believing him, whatever. So then weeks go by. Let's see, I guess it's like September-ish, because it was like a month before we were leaving for our trip, or a few weeks before. We were visiting friends in Atlanta. And I mean, he was being so mean and just terrible for like a week. And then when we were there, it was just embarrassing. Like, he actually had to take a taxi or an Uber somewhere else with the guy of the couple we were with, because I was like getting yelled at in the streets of Atlanta. And I remember telling our friend, this trip to Europe is either going to make us or break us. Yeah. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Again, I'm thinking it's me. It's my fault. What am I doing? Like, why does he hate me? Like, what is going on? And I remember saying to her, like, this trip's going to make us or break us. Like, I don't know what to do. And like, I was thinking, you know, your first, because it had been like 6 months of marriage. And I was like, I feel like your first 6 months of marriage is supposed to be like happy, not like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, like, cheating never crossed my mind. I just was like, oh my God, why is he mad at me? You know? So I'm like, okay. So we go on this trip to Europe. We're in Amsterdam. We had the Amsterdam trip, there was one night that we got in an argument, and he like left me, stormed off, left me. That was like that was his like MO.
Yeah.
So I come back to the Airbnb that night. He's already asleep. I'm like, whatever. So then we leave to go to Germany the next day. We get to our friend's place. The next morning is when we were going, like the next day after that is when we were going to Oktoberfest. And we're hanging out at our friend's place that night. And I remember him sitting, they had like an L sectional. And I remember him sitting in the corner of it, like next to me, and being on his phone, but being like this. And I was like, jokingly, I didn't even mean this, like, seriously? And I was like, why are you trying to hide your phone from me? Like, I was like, why are you, like, I was kind of giving him shit. Like, why are you on your phone? Like, we haven't seen our friends in a year because we had done Oktoberfest like the year before. I'm like, we haven't seen our friends in like a year. Like, what are you doing? Oh my God, that's so rude. Like I was kind of giving him shit for it. And he was like, oh, I'm on they had like this Georgia Southern group chat. It was a bunch of dudes. He's like, there's a game tonight. Like, stop being weird. Again, it's always deflection, whatever you call it. It was always me. And then it makes me feel like, am I crazy? Like, well, okay, maybe it's me. And so I was like, I was just joking, like, just be present. Like, we came here from across the ocean. Like, let's hang out with our friends, you know? And so the next day, we all go to Oktoberfest. And, you know, we're having a good time. We're drinking. He wasn't being like super weird. I didn't think anything of it. He says, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay. So where we are at Fest, the bathroom's this way. He comes back and then he says, like, I'll be right back. And he goes the opposite way. And something in me just said, follow him. Like, follow him, but like silently.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dolly is like crying. I know, it's a terrible, you didn't even know this guy. So yeah, something just was like, follow him. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like silently, you know, with my giant stein of beer, I'm like, and he goes outside and it's like picnic tables, you know?
Yeah.
He sits at the end of his picnic table to where he had his back to me. So he didn't see me following him this whole time. And I stood there for a few minutes just to see what he was gonna do. And he's holding his phone up like this, like FaceTiming. And I couldn't really see who it was. So I walked up behind him closer and I see it's that girl. And I immediately am sober.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like it's about to go down. And I feel like that was the moment where I was like, so many things. I was like, you were right. But I still hadn't like caught him yet, technically. You know, like that's his coworker. I don't know. So I tap on his shoulder and I said, why are you calling her name? And he exited out of it. And he had like one of those big ass iPhones, you know, so it was like very legible. And it said, I guess he had like called from their text conversation because when he exited out of the FaceTime, it brought up their text. And it was like, I love you too. And I have never snatched someone's phone quicker than I did in that moment. And I took the phone, wasn't even looking, just threw it. And we're in this like huge ass thing with like German police, you know? And I threw it and I said, oh, you love her? Because I'm your wife. So like, that's funny. I was like, I'm your wife. I just remember I kept saying like, I'm your wife. Like, what are you doing? I'm your wife.
Right.
And he was hammered. He goes and gets the phone. It's like cracked, obviously. He like puts it in my face like this, like, oh, if you ever do that again, just whatever. And I remember standing there and I looked at the German cop and I looked back at him and I was like, please hit me. Because in my mind, I'm like, if you touch me, like this guy's coming for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, do it. And he was like, if you ever do that again. So I took that phone out of his hand and I threw it again. And I was like, what are you going to do? And he just stormed off, got the phone, whatever. And I remember being like, okay, like we are in Germany. And like, what am I doing right now? Like what, my whole life, just like, and I will say the first thing that I thought of in that moment, it wasn't like, oh my God, he's cheating on me. Oh my God, he's divorced. My first thought was like my dad. And I remember being like, he is going to be so disappointed.
Aww.
And I remember thinking like, what a waste. I had like my dream wedding, you know, like that was my first thought was like, I have to tell my parents this. Like, this is not, you know, oh, this is a fight. At that point, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And so I feel like that was almost like a sign for me, though, the fact that I said that, like, my first thought wasn't like my marriage. My first thought was like, my dad's going to be so disappointed. And I was like, I have to go back inside and get our girlfriend and say, like, I need to leave. And in my head, I was like, I'm just going to like Uber home. Like we're in America. I don't even know. I think we were literally like 40 minutes away from, like, we took like a train and then I think also a car. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I could just like hop on down the street. You know what I mean? But I remember thinking like, I need to just go home and like figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I did call his mother on that porch And I was like, your son is having an affair and we are in Germany. Pretty sure there was maybe a threat to throw his passport in the garbage. Pretty sure he said that. I didn't actually do it, but I was like, hey, he's gonna be stuck here.
Yeah.
And he had like stormed off. I didn't know where he was. So I walked back inside. I tell our friend, I said, hey, I need to talk to you for a second. She was like, okay. I said, so I just caught him basically telling another girl that he loves her. And I think we might be like, need to get a divorce. So I need to figure out how to get home. And I remember her being like, what? Okay, well, we're gonna all leave. Like, you're not just leaving in Germany. Like, she was literally like, oh my God. And our friend that I was with, she's very like, and she's little like you, and just was like, come with me. Like, she's very motherly. And so I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I'll never forget, I had this dinosaur balloon. I don't know why, this is like a memory. And I remember we were leaving the porch and I had to throw the dinosaur balloon in the trash. And I was like, can you just get one more picture of me here? Like, I didn't get any pictures from like Fest or anything. I was like, can you just take this picture of me? And I have this stupid ass picture of me from behind. It's like one of those from the back with the balloon.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus, like, why? I was like losing it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I have that picture, and it was like one of the things I posted from that Germany trip. And in my head, I'm like, if people knew what was going on within like the 30-minute span of the story right now, like, what the fuck? But so that just proves like you never know what's going on in someone's life just by Instagram, because I was like, where they're posing with a dinosaur balloon,
right?
In my like German dirndl outfit. So like, fun. Like, what the fuck? But we get out to the taxi stand, we see him down the way or whatever, and at that point we were with guys and girls, like there were husbands there, muscly ones.
Yeah,
my ex didn't have muscles, so.
No, we did not.
So that's been a transition. Now I like that. But yeah, so we see him just like storming towards us. And I'm thinking like, how is he not sobered up? Like, what is going on? He comes screaming at me. I was just looking ahead, like, I'm not getting into this right now. Like, I need to get my life together. She steps in, little tiny, and she's like, you will not speak to my friend like that. Then he starts going in on her. And I was like, I'm mortified. Like, this is the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
And one of the other girls' husbands basically comes over and grabs him by the arm and was like, you're coming with me, like, get in this taxi.
Yeah.
Like, you will not speak to women like that. Absolutely not.
Okay.
And they were their neighbors. And so he ended up sleeping in those people's like guest bedroom that night. So I didn't see him anymore that night. We like got home, whatever. So, and apparently the whole way home in the taxi, he was like on the phone with the girl saying, yeah, I finally told her. And like, we were getting, well, I wasn't, but my friend was getting texts from that guy, like the stuff that this guy's saying to this girl on the phone, like, he's delusional. And he was literally like telling us exactly what was going on, because I have like screenshots of it still.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't know if I would need it for the divorce, so I kept like
absolutely.
But I mean, he was like, this is just not something someone who's married says to another woman. Like, what is going on? Yeah. And so the next morning rolls around, he comes downstairs, he kind of acts like nothing happened. It was very bizarre. And then he says, he thinks that we're like still going to like see a castle that day, basically. And I was like, no, we need to have a conversation. Like, I'm mortified. Also, you're basically like, so he's deny. Oh, I was just drunk. I don't love her. I was just drunk. Like that, to this day, he probably would still deny it. I'm not even joking. Because I've told him, like, I forgave you.
Right.
Like, I'm so past the whole thing. Like, I don't hate him. I used to feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry. He's literally just nothing to me. Like, I don't have any emotion to him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't like him. I don't hate him. I don't have any, he's just taking up space on this planet. So I feel like I have given him opportunity to like own up to it, just because I feel like, wouldn't you want to be like, yes, let me just tell you what happened, right? To like get it off of your, like, out of you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you screw up, you want to apologize to someone. You want to like say, yeah, this is what happened. This is my side of the story.
Totally.
I never got that from him. It was just deny. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So the next morning it was very much that. It was, you know, he didn't think he did anything wrong. He was just drunk. He got in a fight, whatever. And I was like, well, you need to go and apologize to our friend who we were staying at her house. I'll never forget hearing her because it was like a winding hallway, so I couldn't see. But I listened. And I remember him going out there and saying something like, can I talk to you? And she goes, no, but you can sit down and listen to me.
Right.
And I was like, boom, you know, I'm in the other room like, oh shit, like what is about to happen? And she basically said, you are no longer welcome in our home. I will never be spoken to like that. I don't want to hear your voice ever again. I'll give you 30 minutes to go pack all of your stuff. And just because I'm nice, I'll give you one car ride to wherever you need to go. And so literally within 30 minutes, we took him and dropped him off at an airport near the hotel. I didn't know what was going on. I was thinking like, because I stayed. I finished the trip for like 4 days.
Good for you.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going home. Like, what?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to stay here and have like therapy from my friend who's also could totally be a therapist.
Totally.
But yeah, I was like, I remember like hugging him at that hotel, thinking like, we're gonna get back to America and like go to therapy and fix this or whatever. Like in my head, it was never, I still wasn't totally sold on like divorce.
Yeah.
Even after all that,
Wow.
I was thinking like, I will do everything I can to like save this marriage. Like, you know what I mean? And I clearly didn't, but I was thinking like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to like fix this and make it okay. And he, within, I don't know how long it takes to fly back to America, but I got a text like the next day at like 3 a.m. Germany time from one of my best friends here that was like, oh my God, you guys are already back. And then like the next text is, wait, who is he with at this bar in South End? Because it's not you. And I was like, what does she look like? And I send a picture and my friend is like, yeah. And then little did I know he had approached our friend and said like, don't tell Chamberlain that you saw me out. And he was like, oh, I already texted her like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So he literally flew back to America and then was seen out at like the bars that we go to with her. So he clearly wasn't scared about it. He went back to our house. He turned off we had like drop cam, like security cameras. He turned all the computers or all the cameras off so I couldn't see anything. The last thing I saw was he packed a backpack and left. And then he like cut all the cameras so I couldn't see anything while I was out of the country. He basically ignored me and was like, we can discuss this when you get back or something. But yeah, then he basically said, you know, I never should have proposed to you. It just felt like that was the next step. He said, I haven't loved you for a long time. And I thought that marrying you was going to make me love you again.
Wow.
And I was like, huh. Like that would have been really great to know in like March.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? So if you are unsure at all about marrying a person, like there's no one forcing your hand to do that, literally. Like no one is making you, if you have any doubts, like just, oh my God, don't, or go to therapy. Yeah. We had terrible communication. Like I don't think I'm taking blame for like why everything as far as like the divorce. But I mean, I think there are things that both of us could have improved on. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we should have even been together that long. Right. I think our communication was shit. It was like, we would go out, he would get drunk, I would get yelled at, I would then want to leave or not want to get drunk, or I would go the opposite and just get like hammered so that I didn't care that he was mean to me because I was drunk, so I didn't give a shit anyway. Right. So I mean, it was like so many unhealthy things that I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, so I stayed and finished the trip. I got back, spent 2 weeks in an empty house, didn't see him. He never came back to our house, said he was staying with a friend. I'm like, you don't have any friends, you've been here for 6 months and you're like the worst social person ever. Yeah. Like you don't have friends. I mean, I didn't have a lot of friends either, but like I'm a pretty sociable gal.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yes, you
I
are.
was like, if I haven't made a lot of friends here, I'm damn sure you have made a lot of friends here.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I spent like 2 weeks. I went to work every day. People asked how my trip was. It was great. No one knew.
Wow.
And I remember having to go and tell my boss because after like 2 weeks or about a week and a half from getting back, we had dinner at the house. And I was thinking I had like research therapists. I still was thinking like, I'm going to fix this. Right. And so I had looked up therapists and like all this stuff. And he was like, that's not why I came here. I came here. He like whips out separation, divorce papers, whatever. It's called like separation papers, I think, in North Carolina. He whips that out. He was like, no, I'm here. We can have dinner, but then we need to walk around the house and figure out who's going to get what. And I remember he was like, and you can't have my Audi. And I was like, I don't want your fucking Audi, you loser. Like, what? I was like, okay. Oh, I'm so scared. I was like, I was like, okay, like what is going I'm thinking in my head, like, no, I want the West Elm sofa.
Right. Yeah.
What? I would much rather have all the furniture, you dumbass. Anyway, so yeah, we literally walked around the house that night and decided who was gonna get what. He let me have basically everything I wanted except for this really cute West Elm bench. Do you remember me talking about that? The West Elm bench?
No.
I remember for a while we were like, justice for the bench, because it was so cute and I didn't even know where to put it. And I was like, I guess you can have it. And that was like the only thing I regretted having or not having. It's like this adorable little mid-century modern bench. It's so funny to me, but I'm like, I don't know why that stands out as like important. But yeah, I mean, there was literally still wedding gifts that we had to like open and figure out who got it because we hadn't like opened all of our wedding gifts yet, like crazy shit like that. So yeah, I think like a week after that, I went and talked to my boss and was like, hey, I need to tell you a lot of what is going on in my life. And my boss is an amazing human and she is like, my company is really great. And I didn't expect like this from them, but like actually when I told Kelly, who's been on the show, she's like my sister friend. When I told her that this happened, I remember she cried. We were just talking about how she's such a crier, but yeah, like when I've told people this story, they're just like, wow, like never quit that place, But when I told her what was going on, I was like, so I need to take Friday off because I need to move out of my house. And I got an apartment in South End, which if you don't know Charlotte, I was living in like Steel Creek where there's like families and I don't know, it's like outside of the cool area of Charlotte. And so I was moving to like more of the young, funky, cool area where everyone can like go out and breweries and stuff. So I was pretty excited to move and I was like, I need to take Friday off because I got to move. And I remember her saying like, who's helping you? Because I still was 6 months in. I didn't know really anyone. I was like, well, I'm going to rent a truck. And my friend, my guy friend that that lives here, my bestie, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to like have him help me. I remember her saying, no, we're going to get, she said, be ready at 8 a.m. I'm going to have one of our trucks and 3 of our installers and they're going to move for you. They're going to help you. And I just am like flooded with tears, in her office. Cause I mean, not to mention I was just an emotional train wreck, but having like my company do that and me comfortable enough to like tell her that really meant a lot. And I remember she was like, I was scared you were going to say you were like moving back to Atlanta. And I was like, oh no, I love Charlotte. Like I'm not leaving Charlotte. Charlotte's amazing. I was like, I love it here. Like I have a good job. Like I'm not leaving,
Yeah.
So I ended up moving out. And I'll never forget like my first day after the movers left, I'm just sitting in a bunch of boxes and just the feeling of like relief and feeling like that was like my out of that like carousel I was on of lies and making me feel like I was dumb and stupid all the time and getting yelled at and like stressing over all of it. And I remember sitting there and just being like, I have so much more to like figure out, but at least I'm out of that house and I'm like done with him.
Yeah.
And I just like that apartment to me, like because I live now 0.9 miles down the street from that apartment. And like so much happened in that apartment of like me just growing and figuring out who I am and living alone. I had never lived alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God. And then also like having to figure out like I had to do everything by myself at that point. Luckily, I have an amazing family.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, I have to like figure all of this out and I have to get off of all the bills and all the, everything that I had to do alone at that point. But I feel like doing it alone was so much better than doing it with him. And I think now people hear my story and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Or, oh my God, da, 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 da. And in my head, I'm like, one, like, don't be sorry because first of all, you did nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like saying you're sorry is not the right thing to say. But like, I think that, we have to go through hard things to figure things out. Yeah. And I think that was a little bit dramatic of my life to throw at me, as far as like, let's go through something hard, like let's throw her through this. But I think that if I hadn't gone through that, I would not be where I am today.
Totally.
There are so many things that I just don't tolerate from people in relationships. I will never be spoken to the way I was. I will like demand communication. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to communicate with me, then you can leave because I'm like overly communicative now.
Yeah.
But like, there's just so many things now that I have learned from experiencing that. And I think I've grown, I've gotten so much stronger. I hate to be like, I'm an independent woman, but like, I really am.
You are.
I feel like that's one of those, like, that's a phrase like boss babe. That's like, it's like cringy, but like, also you're like, hit me.
Very powerful.
So, you know what I mean? It's one of those where you're like, oh, it's on so many t-shirts, but yeah, I feel like if I hadn't have experienced something like that, I wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah. And I do know specifically some people that have heard my story or who saw me go through it and come out on the other side, like on top. And I feel like I've had two people that were like, hey, you made me leave my unhappy marriage. And like, if I can help one person get out of something like that or not go through with something like that, like, trust me, it's going to be hard to like get your shit together and figure out who you are and, become more stable in your life. And that's going to be a few months, a year, whatever, of like hard times, but it is way fucking better than being married for the rest of your life to a narcissist or whatever. You know what I mean? But I feel like it made me much more understand, like, you hear like people in abusive relationships and people are like, why don't you just leave? Mm-hmm. And so many times I'm like, not saying it's the same thing, but I'm like, I get it. Yeah. Like, I understand why you can't just leave or why you can't just break up with them or whatever. Like, sometimes it takes, a really dramatic trip to Germany to like figure out this is not serving me anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you kind of, I had like a experience in my past, and it was, our experience, it got to the point of physical abuse started to come into the picture and, having police get involved and things like that for me to finally be like, or actually for my parents to be like, enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore. But it's like you have the image, as you said in the very beginning, it's like you have this like image of this person that you once knew. And so we hold on to that story of like, oh, well, they're just drunk or there's this look. And it's like, no, they're not the same person as they once were. Or even like, and I've had these conversations with guys, like even over the last like year, like I've had a couple of men literally tell me, we put on a front, we do things to impress the girls. And like, that's like why you feel so loved and everything in that first, like, month that you're dating someone. And then things start to turn, like, because the guy's not putting, like, he's like, oh, it's been a month. Okay, well, it's really hard to keep up that, like, what I actually am not. Like, I can't really impress them anymore because it's just like, it's exhausting, So it's just, things change. Hey, gorgeous. Would you love to work with me on a more one-to-one basis, taking yourself, your relationships, business, and bank account to the next level? I want to invite you to book a one-to-one Breakthrough Plus strategy session with me. Apply for 6-month private one-to-one coaching or my Goddess Magic Mastermind, or simply dive into the Goddess Magic digital course bundle. Go to the link in the show notes if you'd like to work more intimately with me. I look forward to working with you.
I feel like for me, like that's why I like to let a lot of my like character, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
A lot of my like weirdness. I mean, I'm weird, but like in a good way. But I feel like the things that I have realized that guys, I don't want to say like can't handle, but a lot of times like I'm a lot. I think when people describe me, I'm a lot.
Yeah.
I am loud. I am not shy. I am not scared to like be the center of attention. But then at the same time, like sometimes I just want to sit at my house and like not do anything. So like I'm definitely a mix of that. But I think that guys, what I have found is like guys that'll find me on like Instagram or on dating apps, and they see me as like this fun, bubbly person, and they're like, oh my God, you look really great. Like, I want to go out with you. And then when I'm that way in front of them, sometimes they're like, it's too much. Like, you don't have to always like be that way or whatever. And I'm like, that's my personality.
Right. So who you are.
And like, if you can't handle my personality in the first like month, then you can handle it for the rest of your life. So
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you're not it. But I feel like I don't ever want someone to be fake to me. So like I'm just not gonna put on a show and be fake to you when we first start dating. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be all out myself, which is a lot. I don't know.
But I love it. I love that about you. I mean,
and my friends that really know me, I think know that when I say I'm a lot, it's not just like my personality. I think that like when I have my good girlfriends, like I will cut a bitch for you. You know what I mean? Like I am very much protective of my siblings. Like I'm a big personality, but I'm also like when I am in a relationship with someone, like I'm 100% in. Like I give everything that I do 100%. And I think that sometimes people just can't understand that or can't like handle it. But I feel like every relationship I have, friendships, my family, my relationships, like I give 100% and I expect 100%.
Totally.
And that's what I have found like afterwards, like dating the last 5 years, like since my divorce, is like guys think that they want relationships or they think they want to be with you or they want commitment. My God. And they don't, or they're like, oh, after a year, I actually don't know if this is if I want a girlfriend or if I want this or whatever. I don't know what I want. And I'm like, what have I been doing for however many months? You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that it's weird dating in your 30s because I'm like, I thought you guys would have your shit together by now, but
yeah, they know. They don't.
People don't.
They don't. Not they. Some of them don't. You're right.
Some of them.
Some of them don't. They do not. It was funny. I went to, well, this wasn't funny, but I had to go to like a memorial service for a family funeral, like a family friend of ours. And there's like one of the like, I don't know, nephews of the guy who passed away was there. And he's like, we're catching up. I haven't seen him in forever and everything. And he's like, yeah, like I have my job and I have this business going and I have the most amazing girl. Like I've got my shit together. Like I am just like so ready to like get married and blah, blah. And he's like 24, 25. And I was like, yeah, me too. I'm like,
if one of my siblings,
I fucked around for a long time, I wasn't, as people know my story, it's like, I was not who I am today.
Okay, but also at 24, 25, you don't know who the fuck you are regardless.
You don't.
You're who you are.
You start to learn yourself in your 30s.
Yeah. And granted, I went through trauma, but like, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't think that I really understood why I am the way that I am until last year.
Yeah.
which is 35. I posted something maybe like late summer. I shared, you know that show Southern Charm?
Yeah. I've never seen
So
it.
that Naomi girl that like her boyfriend moved and was cheating, whatever, there was like a meme about it. And so I shared that on my Instagram and I crossed out like dating and I put like marriage. And then it was like, I guess because they had moved to a new city and then he was cheating on her like right when they moved to New York or whatever. Sad that I know this much about these people's lives. But and I remember posting and being like, LOL, relatable. And I put like move and I crossed out like New York and put Indiana and crossed out dating and wrote marriage. And the amount of people in my DMs that were like, you were married?
Yeah.
Like people had no idea that I was married. And I was like, how do you not like what? But then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I moved to Charlotte, got married, got divorced within 6 months. A lot of the people that I met in Charlotte, he was not in my life at all.
Right.
And I mean, he was removed from all the socials. Like everyone knew me as like single Chamberlain, like when I was making friends. And I was like, wow, like no one knew. So I put one of those question box that was like, ask me anything. And I had so many people ask like whatever they wanted. I was like, I don't give a shit. I'll tell you whatever. So I did that. And I remember for about 2 weeks after that, I was having the worst anxiety. I was like crying for no reason. And it made me realize like I had never dealt with anything.
Wow.
I literally moved out of that house, continued my life, started probably going out too much. Then I decided to like go to church. That kind of fizzled. I feel like I tried to do all these things to like fix myself that didn't actually fix anything. I didn't go to therapy, which is what I should have done. But I tried to fix myself through all these other routes. I was like dating. I got on dating apps like a month after. Like, what? That was really stupid. But like, there were so many things I did incorrectly that I should have done. But, you know, I mean, that was my way of handling it at the time. And it still has all led me to where I am now. So, I mean, I don't think I have any regrets on anything, you know, like I probably could have like not gone out 3 nights of the week, every week or whatever I was doing. But, you know, looking back, I'm like, that's how I was choosing to handle it at the time and whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that, what was I saying? Now I've lost my train of thought.
That you actually found like who you were. Like you learned a lot more about yourself.
So after going through that, I realized like so much anxiety came out of that from just sharing on Instagram. But I had never shared the story. So many people were like, yeah, we realized you guys just like weren't together anymore, but like what happened? What was the story? And I had told my girlfriends and my family, but like I had never told the story of what happened to anyone.
Yeah.
Until I typed it all out on Instagram. And so many people were like, oh my God. And then I kept getting all the I'm sorries. Yeah. So then I made a post that was like, don't ever be sorry. Because I'm a better person now than I was when I went through that.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to be sorry about either. But, you know, I was like, I think I need to go to therapy because I don't think I ever dealt with this situation in my life in the slightest. So I started going to therapy last year, which has been amazing.
Good.
And that gave me, not only did I talk about my divorce, I feel like my divorce was like the tip of the iceberg of just like me finding out like why I am the way I am. There was just so much that I like unpacked there. And I've had such good conversations with family members that I was always scared to bring things up, or I felt this way, but I didn't want to tell them because I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or, you know, X, Y, and Z. And so after going to therapy, like, I feel like I got so much out, not just to my therapist, but to like family and friends, that it was just so like freeing to me. Like, I feel like I dealt not only with my divorce trauma, but with like so many other, I don't want to say traumas, but so many other things that I went through in my childhood that I never really realized made me the way I am. I mean, I went to different schools. My mom would, growing up, would always buy, renovate, and sell houses like all over. So I changed schools a lot. And I've realized that the reason, you know how I am, I will be friends with anyone walking down the street. I will talk to anyone. I want everyone to feel included. I over invite people. I've learned that about myself. Sometimes people just want to go to dinner, just you and them. Did you know that? Because I didn't know that till like a few months ago. But I over invite people. I want everyone, I don't want anyone to ever feel excluded. Ever.
Yeah.
And I realize it's because growing up, I was constantly the kid that was new in school, didn't know anyone, and I was excluded, not necessarily excluded, but I was always trying to like get into the friend groups and trying to be included in things. And like that really made me, I was like, wow, so that explains why I'm like this or that, or you know what I mean?
Wow.
So I mean, it's like going through therapy, I've learned so many things like that about myself that I don't think you realize, like something as simple as that really forms your personality and, you know, your actions as an adult.
Totally. It really does. I mean, yeah, like that, what I said about my like abusive situation from years ago, like same thing. I didn't go to therapy. I went to one therapy session and maybe it was my perspective, but I felt like the therapist spoke down to me, like, and you stayed with him. Why? Like, I felt like that was the conversation. And so I felt just like, well, I don't need that. You know? And so I was like, my mom picked me up and she was like, so did you book your next session? I was like, no, but I'm fine. Totally fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't address those issues. Of course, they've always been in my mind, but like, that was what I was like 21, 22 when that happened. And it wasn't until I was 33 until I actually like had a conversation, and it wasn't with a therapist, it was with a coach. And we addressed it then. I mean, I was bawling on this like conversation with her, just thinking of all the things that, you know, everything that I've been doing for 11 years to avoid actually confronting that and dealing with it and the grief behind it and all of that too. So it's just been
I will say when I was therapist shopping, the first person that you go to, or even the fifth person you go to, may not be your person. My first therapist that I went to, she was older than me. And I remember she made a comment. So one of my recent exes, I was still talking to and like hooking up with. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to her about it, saying like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, we're broken up, but like, you know, he stayed at my house last night. And I remember her talking down to me, like you said, like, I remember feeling like she was like, maybe not talking down, but like judging me.
Yeah.
And the way that she like asked me questions, it was like, well, I don't even want to tell you now, because now I feel like I'm like in trouble. Right. But also like, I'm a single woman in my 30s, and if I want to freaking hook up with my ex-boyfriend, I can do that. Yeah. It may not be like mentally stable of me, but whatever. Right. I'm not like a hoe. Like I could be meeting some random guy at the bar across the street, but at least I know this guy. Right. So anyway, I was like, whatever. And then the therapist that I found, I remember I told her that, and she was like, I've done that. Everyone's done that. Yeah. That's normal. And she was like, do you know how many people hook up with their exes? Like, that's not abnormal. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with you. Like, oh, I remember calling Kelly after my first therapy appointment and being like, I'm obsessed with this girl. Like, I want to be her friend, but like, not really, because she knows a lot about my life. But I was like, I love her. And so, I mean, luckily I found her at like my second person that I tried or whatever. But I mean, I know people that have had several therapists because you just don't click. Like, you have to have that feeling of like, yeah, to be comfortable enough, because you're also telling them like so many personal things about you, and they're a stranger if you think about it like that. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, I feel like because I mean, sometimes I go to therapy, I don't really have anything cool. I'm like, honestly, I feel like my life's going pretty great the last 2 weeks, you know, like not really having any shit going on, but so like, I'm going to go here for dinner next week or whatever. Like, I still will go, even if I don't have anything going on, because I'm like, well, let me just tell you about this, or listen to this project I'm working on at work, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's still just nice to like have someone to talk to that isn't like your friend that you text every day. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I agree.
But yeah. Therapy is like, as Hess would say, can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally
Like,
agree.
it's been a game changer for me. And I don't know why I waited so, like, I have no good excuse for why I put it off for so long, like, to not go.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people are like, I should do that, and they don't. And
Yeah.
I was one of those people for a long time, clearly 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is.
Well, I think too, we may have that like stigma or yeah, I guess like a stigma. I mean, maybe this was it for me, but I felt like, there's nothing wrong with me. So why do I need to get therapy? Although, and yes, there wasn't anything wrong with me, but there was a lot of unhealthy emotions stuck inside of me that needed to come out. But I was just like, no, it's fine. Like I'm working all these jobs, I'm dating, I'm doing the things. But I literally was making a post about this a little bit earlier, but it was like my house, you've been here, it's like my house was a true reflection of what was going on the inside of me. Like I was not connecting.
That yellow,
those yellow walls and my beautiful blue walls now. But it was
that
like,
yellow.
I was so disconnected from who I was within that my external like home environment was so like, I didn't have things hung on walls, like nothing, like literally my walls were yellow, y'all, like not like a sunshine yellow that was super welcoming, but like more of an accent piece, not your whole fucking living room, kitchen, all the places, dining room. It was real shiny yellow that it was probably not good on my mental health. And anyways, but like I wasn't like I use TV now as self-care. Like I wasn't watching TV. Like I was working constantly and or drinking my face off and being like stuck in this like FOMO stage of like, I have to be around everybody else because being by myself and hearing myself think is probably the last thing I want to do right now.
That's like exactly what I went through after my divorce was the going out. I was working out all the time. I was going to Orange Theory like twice a day sometimes. Yeah. Like, ew, what? Why would I do that? But which if you do that, totally good for you. But I just don't know that that's like the healthiest decision that I could have ever been making. But I was also going to Orange Theory twice a day and then drinking like vodka waters for dinner. So, yeah. I mean, I was definitely going out a lot. It was struggle bus for months.
Yeah.
I mean, I was drinking wine with the guy that I was dating at the time. Remember, we would like sit around and drink wine and play Jenga like on weeknights all the time. And while that sounds really enjoyable, like I did not need to be drinking during the week. Like, why?
Right.
I lost a lot of weight. I will say, so my ex, I've only seen him in the 5 years that we've been divorced. I've only seen him one time, which is weird because Charlotte's not that big. He doesn't live here anymore, but he lived here for like, I think 2 years. The only time I saw him, this just is like a reflection of who he is.
Yes.
He had a box of I had left a box of Christmas ornaments or something in his house, Christmas stuff. I remember my wreath was in it that I really wanted. And I was like, can you bring this when you go to work or something? Can you bring it by? This is where I live. He didn't know where I lived, I don't think, at the time. And one of our girlfriends was there. And I remember thinking, yeah, you can bring it by because I'm like not by myself. I didn't want to like see him. And he came to my front door. And the only thing he said was, oh, so you waited until we separated to get skinny? And I was like, oh, get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you for my stuff. Fuck off. Goodbye. And I just remember being like, thank God I am out of that situation.
Totally.
Like who says that to someone? But I think it also made me, in a weird way, that made me realize how unhealthy. Because I was like, yeah, none of my clothes fit. I had lost like 15 or 20 pounds in like 3 months, like very unhealthily. Yeah. Like I was barely eating. But I mean, it was like that weird depression, anxiety, going through, feeling like I wasn't good enough. Like someone's cheating on me. So something's wrong with me. Like I constantly felt like I was the problem and I needed to like fix that. But instead I was just like drinking it away or going out all the time as a distraction, surrounding myself with people that, I mean, are good people, but if y'all weren't going out on Thursday, I would text this group of friends, like, what are y'all doing? Or what are you, I would always find someone to hang out with. So it looked like I had a ton of friends. I was really just trying to see who was out, and that's who I'd go hang out with that night. And I think it wasn't until my most recent ex and COVID that, so my most recent ex doesn't drink. And so I was like, okay, I think it put into perspective how much our lives, I don't want to say revolve around drinking, but how many activities we do as adults that are drinking activities. Yeah. And then with COVID hitting, not long after we had started dating and not being able to go out, I think it made me realize like how much I actually like staying in or only going out like one night a weekend, or, you know, I didn't have tons of stuff to do. And I realized how like burnt out I was. Yeah. Like I was constantly going out and trying to be everywhere and all the time and go to everything I was invited to, which I also learned through therapy that I went to everything I was invited to because in my head, I felt like if I didn't go, I wouldn't be invited to the next thing, which is like so untrue. And then my therapist also was like, and also if they didn't invite you because you didn't go to one thing, that's not your friends anyway, then you shouldn't go in the first place. Absolutely. And I was like, I never thought about it like that. That's a really good point. But it was like, I was scared to not go to things because I thought I wouldn't be invited, which is so dumb. Saying it out loud to yourself, you're like, wow, that reasoning makes no sense. Yeah. But I've realized like, I don't have to go to everything all the time. I don't have to be Miss Social and constantly out and doing things. I have definitely toned it down. And I do think that COVID kind of helped me with that in a weird way. I realized how much I like to be in my house. Yeah. And me too. I mean, honestly, now, like if my dogs can't come, there's like a slim chance I'm coming. Right. Yeah. I mean, the stuff I do now is like a lot of outside things. And I like to get out. It's like, you know, if I'm going to drink on the weekend, it's going to be day drinking, you know? Yeah. But like, I realize how much I don't like going to bars at night. You know, there's a sports bar across the street from my house. And that's like my favorite thing to do is just go over there at like 8:00 and eat a pretzel and a salad and have a few Mick Ultras and come home. Yeah. And that's like an ideal night, you know, which we used to be like closing down 5p, you know? Yeah. So, like, R.I.P. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I was definitely trying to fill some void where I was so unhappy with myself. I thought all these things were going to make me like happy again. Right. And like they weren't. I realized I needed to like make myself happy. Yeah. You know, I couldn't be alone. I can be alone now. I used to not ever, I felt like I needed to have a partner. I needed to like date someone. I needed to have that attention from someone. Unfortunately, that like male attention. Yeah. Of, oh, someone likes me. Right. You know what I mean? And now, I mean, we all want that. Like, who doesn't? Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not so like reliant on that to be happy. Honestly, now it makes me more annoyed than anything. I feel like a lot of times when I'm frustrated now, it's because of a dude. Yeah. Well, yeah. But yeah, I'm like, honestly, you're not bringing me happiness, sir. Just kidding if you're watching this and if I'm dating someone right now. When is this gonna like air? I don't even know. It'll be in like a month. It'll probably be right now. Yeah, maybe in a month I'll have a boyfriend. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe in a month I will too. No, I don't know. Get in those DMs, boys. Here's my Instagram handle right here. That's right. Yes. Oh my gosh. I know I wanted to. That was so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that and just being vulnerable. Like I said, I know that it's extremely helpful in connecting with so many women. I mean, whether you've been divorced or you're just going through a relationship, that you're like, listen and feel those red flags and, you know, make the decisions. Like it's just going to be temporary pain, but otherwise you're going to be in a long lasting painful situation that it's going to be even harder and harder to get out of. And it's just, but you can always get out. Yeah. I do think like getting out of that relationship, I was not financially stable. Yeah. I will say like, as far as advice, maybe like you didn't ask, but I'll give it to you. Yeah, give it to me. Like advice for someone who is either going to get out of a relationship like that, or, I mean, even if you just need to like postpone. Yeah. Like postpone your wedding for 6 months and make sure that this is like a real thing. You know what I mean? But like, I can't, I can't recommend enough also just being financially stable.
So smart.
I think I got out of that and I kind of didn't know what to do. I mean, he made a lot more money than I did. I didn't necessarily have to like worry about stuff like that. That sounds terrible, but I mean, unfortunately it's true. And I think a lot of women probably can relate to that. Where maybe you don't have 50-50 on all the bills, or maybe, you know, so I think that now, like, I will never go into a relationship ever again that I cannot walk away from.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll never be stuck in something ever again. Like, I own this condo. Thank you to my dad for helping me with that. I mean, again, if you can't tell, I'm very close with like my family. My dad helped me get out of all of my trauma too. After renting for a year, he basically was like, if you're going to stay in Charlotte, you know, for more than 5 years, you should buy something because you're just throwing money in a trash can, I believe is the way he worded it. And I was like, okay. And so, I mean, I ended up buying this condo. Thank goodness that I had someone to be able to help me with that. But I mean, I will say, like, if you're planning on getting out of a relationship, just make sure that you have like a financial escape for that, which I think is hard. Like, I did not at all. And that was another reason of like, how do I even like survive? Like, how am I going to pay like rent by myself or whatever? So, I mean, there was a lot of really scary shit that I had to think about, like getting out of that relationship, but that will be short-lived and you will figure it out.
Yeah. I
mean, I think people are often just really scared, but it's much better to figure something out by yourself than to like stay in that situation totally and be unhappy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Thank you. I love that advice. No, for sure. I mean, if you can start, like, get yourself, like, now ladies, PSA, like, if you're, not to say like that's going to happen, but regardless, like, if you have a healthy or an unhealthy relationship, get yourself to a good financial place. Like, it's good. In the event something were to knock would happen, you know, a death, you know, something, you know, like something, you just get yourself financially secure for you. Because you're gonna feel better about yourself anyways. Like, it's your like worthiness, and like there's a lot of like worthiness attached to like what's in your bank account too. So
being a boss babe.
Be a fucking boss babe.
Or I can't tell you how many times I have sat on my sofa behind me and literally looked around and been like, this is mine. Yeah. Everything in this space is mine.
Yeah.
And it's like, that feeling, I can't even explain it. Like, you just knowing, like, you know, from what I was dealing with, however, 6 years ago, and to where I am now is like such night and day. And just sitting here sometimes and being like, I have my Christmas tree up right now.
Yeah, I love it.
Because I'm 36 years old, and if I don't have my motherfucking Christmas tree up, and what are we in August?
Yeah.
Like, I can do that because that brings me joy. And that is something that, like, I love being in my house at night and having my Christmas tree. And I feel like, I think in like January, February, I was like, this makes me so happy. Right. Why do I have to take this down every year?
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to take that down? I don't want to take it down. So I need to replace some of the lights on it. But like, I legit have my Christmas tree up still. And I'm just keeping it up year round this year because I just really love it.
I love it.
And it's like all those, like, he would have said that's stupid. Probably. Actually, you can see this lamp right here.
Yeah.
So that is a lamp from Target. It's a gold unicorn. And that was the first purchase. I remember him telling me that was for kids and it was dumb and we weren't having it in our house. And so when I moved out, that was the very first thing that I went and bought at Target, was that like $19 unicorn lamp, because I was like, I can do whatever I want now because I live by myself and this is my space.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I am buying this unicorn lamp. And like, that has such significance that like not a lot of people probably even know that. And people would see it and be like, oh, Chamberlain unicorn lamp makes sense.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Same with the Christmas tree. Checks out. I have a lot of weird shit in my house. But it's me.
Yeah, like, it is.
But I mean, I don't know. There's just nothing better than like having your own space and knowing that you're financially independent and knowing that you don't have to rely on anyone else for anything. You know what I mean? And sometimes it can get lonely, but that's why you have, your best friends.
That's right. Absolutely.
Like, I haven't had a boyfriend in over a year. And this is since going to therapy. Like, this is the first time in my life that I've been really happy being single and not trying to stress out and like find someone to date. Like, honestly, I wish they would just come and like show up at my front door and like, be like one at a time. Just, excuse me, I'd like to tell you my resume about myself. Because I'm like, I don't know, the dating apps suck. You saw my business card, right?
Yeah, I did see your business card. I actually just deleted Hinge off my phone yesterday because I was like, I'm not like, I'm in like a completely different headspace right now, and I don't want to give anyone false hope that there's a chance that they're going to date me right now. Like, I'm focused on my career and my business right now, and I just can't give that attention to it.
I have Bumble and Hinge on my phone, but I feel like I just like hate everyone. Yeah. Like, I don't ever really get on there, and like, it's on my phone, but I don't ever look at it. I would love to just meet someone like organically, but that's why I had my little business cards made, because I'm like, this to me is more my personality. And like, I would love to be at, Trader Joe's. Oh, we shop at the same grocery store. Convenient for Sundays. Or like, oh, you like to go to Ed's Tavern? Nice. Same. Like, let's go watch football. You know what I mean? But also, like, if we break up, it's mine. You can't go there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like I did this in the beginning of the year thinking that I was going to start dating again like in January. And then I literally went on like 2 or 3 dates, and I was like, I don't really think I like this right now. I don't want to do it. I don't feel comfortable doing it. So I took more time off just for myself, which is not who I ever have been. I've always been like, I need to have a boyfriend. Yeah. And now I'm like, no, I actually really love that I can like go to work, go to the gym, do whatever I want, go on like a hot girl walk. I don't have to check in with anybody.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Nobody has to know where I am. And that's amazing.
It's a great thing. It is.
It's so great.
Welcome to self-love.
I know, right? It's like, I would love a boyfriend, but I also would love a boyfriend that lets me still like do my own shit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're not going to settle until that, you're both choosing each other because you choose each other for all of you,
Yeah. And I feel like it's like, you need someone that like completes you. You know what I mean? It's not, I have found people that are the opposite of me. I have found people like the guy that I dated right out of my divorce. He was like the first guy that opened a car door for me. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? Yeah. Like, you're being nice? What? You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like the first person that was nice to me in 7 years. So I was like, I'm in love with him. I love it. That was a roller coaster. That was I think I want to date you. Actually, I don't. I think I want to date you. Actually, I don't. Like every 4 months. So then I would get my hopes up, and I would get heartbroken forever. And then I never thought I would get over him. Then I dated this other dude, doesn't live here anymore. And honestly, because he doesn't live here and doesn't have any social media, it made it much easier going through like the breakup, even though I did manage to fly to other parts of the country to visit him still, because why wouldn't I? But, I feel like, and now him and I are in a good spot where we're friends and like we can talk and it's not weird anymore. And, I think that I get to those places in my past relationships, like the guys that I've kind of dated over the few years that I've been dating, is because usually I'm the one that's kind of like, I like you, but I don't know if I actually can see myself being with you like 5 years from now. Yeah. Like, you're fun right now, but I don't know if I want to like spend my whole life with you forever. And so I find myself being like friends with these random people that I maybe met on Bumble. Which I think sometimes they think is weird, but I think it's normal. Like when they meet each other, they're like, how did you meet Chamberlain on Bumble? Oh my God, same. That happened at my birthday party.
I love that.
I was like, I knew you two would hit it off. You know why? Because I matched with both of you and you're very similar. And literally one of them was like, I had a feeling that's how you met him. I was like, that's exactly how I met him. But now we're just friends because like everyone loves that guy. And I'm like, again, me including everyone at my birthday party. Oh, we met on Bumble 2 years ago. Come on, bring it. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's part of my inclusive personality.
I love that though. That's cool. Okay, well maybe I'll just like get on Bumble to like, network with people and be friends.
Well, you can get on like Bumble BFF.
Yeah. That's what I'll do.
Or Bumble Biz.
Oh my
I used to be a marketing girl for Bumble.
I don't know if I knew that. That's
There used to be like a Bumble. Oh my God, they should call them Bumblebees. Anyway, you can edit this part out.
No, I love it. Yeah, so I have to wrap because I have another podcast to record in just a moment, but I know I wanted to talk to you more about things. But that was awesome. And so
I know, I feel like, sorry, I just literally told my whole story and that's
but I love it. Like I said, I love details because those details, it's like those details are important to the people that need to hear that because those details may be exactly what another girl is going through right now. So it's like, it is important. Details are important. But
I did write down because you told me what was the biggest lesson that I learned in the self-love journey.
Yes.
I think the biggest lesson that I learned in my self-love journey is that I will never be too much for the right person.
Yes.
And you follow me on Instagram. Anytime I see that on all those little quote people you follow them too, because sometimes I steal yours. But anytime that quote is shared, like I resonate so much with that because I feel like I am a lot. And it is going to take the right person to not think I'm too much.
Absolutely.
Like someone is going to appreciate everything about me one day, not just like pick and choose what they want to deal with versus what they want to love about me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
One of my friends told me the other day, we were talking about two different guys that I had been talking to. And she said, I think he loves you, whatever, but I think he tolerates who you are and what you bring to the table as far as your personality. I think this guy loves and embraces your personality. She's like, I don't think either of them are like bad for you, but I think one of them kind of just puts up with you and one of them loves that that's the way you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, like I never thought about it like that. And you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a light bulb went off where I was like, wow, that is so true.
Yeah.
Like you need someone that's not going to just tolerate your personality. If you have a big personality like I do,
yeah,
it's going to take the special person to be able to deal with that. Take special friends. Like all of y'all have to deal with me all the damn time.
I love it.
I'm crazy.
You're crazy. I love it. I love your big personality. It's great. And it's connecting with people and it shows a level of confidence. I mean, I know that was something like your, like I said, like what you share on Instagram and TikTok, like you're embracing all of you. And I just think that it's your butt. I love it. You acknowledge.
I feel like for a lot of my life,
girl,
I've never been a small human.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've always been like trying to lose weight and trying whatever. And I finally am like, you know what? No, I have thick ass legs and I have a big butt. And I'm going to just like embrace that and go with it and whatever. And I mean, yeah, sometimes I get weirdo people that comment on it, but I'm like, I'm so much more confident in physically how I look. Like I'm a strong person.
Yeah.
Like I may not be teeny tiny, but like I'm very strong.
Yeah.
Like mentally and physically. And I feel like when I work out, like I don't really lose weight when I work out. I kind of get like thicker. You know what I mean? And I feel like I have finally been like, no, I have to love my body and be confident in my body to be able to like not, it's like that confidence that's going to be attractive to someone else.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I need to stop being insecure about things like that. Like, oh my God, my cellulite on the back of my thighs or whatever. I'm like, no, I wear those damn spandex shorts that you see me in all the time. I would have never worn bike shorts like 2 years ago. I would have been like so embarrassed because I have thick legs. And now I'm like, that's what I live in.
Yeah.
And if you don't like my body, you don't have to look at it. You don't have to like me. I don't care. That's fine. Then you're not the one for me.
Absolutely.
Not gonna lie though, a lot of people like it. So
a lot of people like it.
I went viral once, okay? That video was not even like meant for that. It's actually really funny that was the one that went like
I love it.
Crazy. I was like, oh my God, okay, I could have done way cuter, but whatever. Sure.
Oh my God. God, I love it. Well, tell people where they can find you. Put out the DM you, you know.
What is my TikTok? Is it at It's Chamberlain? On Instagram, I am at its_Chamberlain, ITS_Chamberlain. And then on TikTok, it's the same thing. I just had to look it up because I was like, you don't know. I can give you my Venmo too. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's probably the same thing. I'm just saying. But no, Instagram, TikTok, don't find me on Facebook. You're not my aunt.
Yeah.
My grandmother.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm private, but you can give me a request and I pretty much accept anyone that's not super weird. Send me a message request.
Yeah, send a message.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Have new friends. But yeah.
Not just looking to date, also looking if anyone is watching this, it's new to Charlotte and looking for friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm all about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, always can use new friends as well.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. Well, thanks so much for being here, Chamberlain. I love you. And
thank you for having me. I love you, my little Polly Pocket.
Love you too. If you loved this episode, please download, share, rate, and review. If you are ready to step into that next level version of you and grow your business and bank account, it's time to unleash your goddess magic and chase life with Kelly. You can start this epic expansion journey by diving into the Goddess Magic course bundle found at chaselifetogether.com. Please connect with me on Instagram at chaselifewithkelly. Join the Chase Life with Kelly Facebook community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, create the life you crave, babe, and chase life with Kelly.